Hi everybody, this is Hana with Team Elite, where we inspire you to dream big and go bold. We are here with our Think and Grow Rich series. We are on our fourth video of the introduction to our live audiobook series. This is Hana, this is Vahid. We're going to be doing it where I'm going to be reading from the actual book. Vahid's going to be giving his commentary to go really into it, give you all the juice. We're diving deep today. So let's get right into it.
Let's do it.
Alright, and this is page 14 in my book, guys. The object of this book is to help all those who seek it to learn the art of changing their minds from failure consciousness to success consciousness. Another weakness found in altogether too many people is the habit of measuring everything and everyone by their own impressions and beliefs. Some who will read this will believe that no one can think and grow rich. They cannot think in terms of riches because their thought habits have been steeped in poverty, want, misery, failure, and defeat.
Negative thoughts going across your mind constantly. Delete, push the delete button. It's like an old computer that you get. It's got a lot of viruses and it doesn't have the latest software. You got to delete it, reformat, put the new software back on.
These unfortunate people remind me of the prominent Chinese man who came to America to be educated in American ways. He attended the University of Chicago. One day, President Harper met this young man on the campus, stopped to chat with him for a few minutes, and asked what had impressed him as being the most noticeable characteristic of the American people. "Why," the man exclaimed, "the queer slant of your eyes. Your eyes are off slant. What do we say about the Chinese? We refuse to believe that which we do not understand. We foolishly believe that our own limitations are the proper measure of limitations. Sure, the other fellow's eyes are off slant because they are not the same as our own. Millions of people look at the achievements of Henry Ford after he has arrived and envy him because of his good fortune or luck or genius or whatever it is that they credit for Ford's fortune. Perhaps one person in every 100,000 knows the secret of Ford's success, and those who do not know are too modest or too reluctant to speak of it because of its simplicity. A single transaction will illustrate the secret perfectly. A few years back, Ford decided to produce his now famous V8 motor. He chose to build
It's a very important story. So we're gonna comment on it a little bit more. So we get into it's very simple, but a lot of people don't either have never been told, they don't know it, or they don't understand it, or it takes a little bit of time for us to observe. It took me a little bit of time to observe what Henry Ford actually did and how he went about building his famous V8 engine. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, what the V8 engine is, you got 4 cylinders on this side, you got 4 cylinders on that side, and it's cast on a single, a single piece. So it's not like 2-3 pieces together. It's all the cylinders are cast from one piece of iron. Everything is there, and that was difficult. We're talking. Obviously, you and I are familiar with it right now, but back then there was only a straight 4 or straight 6 cylinder. So he wanted to create a V8 engine, powerful to be able to, put more performance engines in his cars, right? He knew that the trend was going to go over there. People wanted that muscle car, right? So now we're going to read the story of how he actually came up with that.
Beautiful. He chose to build an engine with the entire 8 cylinders cast in one block and instructed his engineers to produce a design for the engine.
So he chose to do that, and then he instructed the engineers.
The design was placed on paper, but the engineers agreed to a man that it was simply impossible to cast an 8-cylinder gas engine block in one piece. Ford said, "Produce it anyways."
So he wanted it, he said, "Produce it anyway. Go make it happen."
But they replied, "It's impossible." "Go ahead," Ford commanded, "and stay on the job until you succeed no matter how much time is required."
So there was no limitation on time. There wasn't anything that he was going to spend. He wanted it and he was going to have it. So he told them, command them, go to work, do what you need to do. When it's done, let me know.
The engineers went ahead. There was nothing else for them to do if they were to remain on the Ford staff. 6 months went by, nothing happened. Another 6 months passed, and still nothing happened.
So we're talking about 12 months total.
The engineers tried every conceivable plan to carry out the orders, but the thing seemed out of the question. Impossible. At the end of the year, Ford checked with his engineers, and again they informed him that they had found no way to carry out his orders. "Go right ahead," said Ford. "I want it, and I'll have it." They went ahead, and then, as if by a stroke of magic, the secret was discovered. The Ford determination had won once more. The story may not be described within minute accuracy, but the sum and substance of it is correct. Deduce from it, you who wish to think and grow rich, the secret of the Ford millions, if you can. You'll not have to look very far. Henry Ford is a success because he understands and applies the principles of success. One of these is desire, knowing what one wants. Remember this Ford story as you read and pick out the lines in which the secret of his stupendous achievement has been described. If you can do this, if you can lay your finger on the particular group of principles made by Henry Ford rich, you can equal his achievements in almost any calling for which you are suited.
So you don't have to go into the auto business. It could be in any business. And at the same time, the point that the author is making over here, Napoleon Hill is making over here, is that he wanted it, he stuck by it, didn't matter what the cost was, how much time it was, I want it and I'm going to have it. It was the determination. It wasn't a normal desire. It was burning desire to have a V8 engine.
Mm-hmm. You are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul, because when Henley wrote the prophetic lines, I am the master of my fate, I am the captain of my soul, he should have informed us that we are the masters of our fate, the captains of our souls, because we have the power to control our thoughts.
So the most important power that we have is to be able to control our thoughts.
He should have told us that the ether in which this little earth floats, in which we move and have our being, is a form of energy moving at an inconceivably high rate of vibration, and that the ether is filled with a form of universal power which adapts itself to the nature of the thoughts we hold in our minds, and influences us in natural ways to transmute our thoughts into their physical equivalent.
So do you need to figure all of it out and understand how scientifically that works? No, you just need to know that it works. You shouldn't need an explanation for these things. Universe works like this. Thoughts are vibration, thoughts are things. Accept it, believe in it, put it to use.
If the poet had told us of this great truth, we would know why it is that we are the masters of our fate, the captains of our souls. He should have told us with great emphasis that this power makes no attempt to discriminate between destructive thoughts and constructive thoughts, that it will urge us to translate into physical reality thoughts of poverty just as quickly as it will influence us to act upon thoughts of riches.
Definitely. I agree with that 100%.
He should have told us, too, that our brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts that which we hold in our minds, and by
so
means...
the thoughts that you're holding on to in your mind, it magnifies itself and it transmits. So that could be negative or positive. So if you're a negative person, you're going to be what? Attracting more negative things in your life. So staying positive, very, very important. Positive mindset, positive thoughts. That is not impossible. It's possible. I need to work on it.
He should have told us, too, that our brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts which we hold in our minds, and by means which no man is familiar, these magnets attract to us the forces, the people, the circumstances of life which harmonize with the nature of our dominating thoughts. He should have told us that before we can accumulate riches in great abundance, we must magnetize our minds with intense desire for riches, that we must become money conscious until the desire of money drives us to create definite plans for acquiring it.
So creating definite plans to acquiring. So you got to have plan. So first is desire, then you got to put a plan in place, and then you got to put the action to it. So from my mind goes on a piece of paper and then action.
But being a poet and not a philosopher, Henley contented himself by stating a great truth in poetic form, leaving those who followed him to interpret the philosophical meaning of his lines. Little by little, the truth has unfolded itself, until it now appears certain that the principles described in this book hold the secret of mastery over our economic fate. We are now ready to examine the first of these principles. Maintain a spirit of open-mindedness, and remember as you read, they are the invention of no one man. The principles were gathered from the life experiences of more than 500 men who actually accumulated riches in huge amounts, men who began in poverty with but little education, without influence. The principles worked for these men. you can put them to work for your own enduring benefit.
So that's where we're talking about that Napoleon Hill interviewed these 500 individuals. He interviewed a lot of other people, but he selected these top 500 that started from nothing and they became successful. And one of the qualifications was that they had to be successful in a span of 20 years. So it wasn't an overnight success. They just got lucky and everything else. It wasn't the case. They actually worked for it. They put energy, effort, and that's where those 13 principles come from.
Wow. You will find it easy, not hard to do. Before you read the next chapter, I want you to know that it conveys factual information which might easily change your entire financial destiny, as it has so definitely brought changes of stupendous proportions to two people described. I want you to know also that the relationship between these two men and myself is such that I could have taken no liberties with the facts, even if I had wished to do so. One of the men has been my closest personal friend for almost 25 years. The other is my own son. The unusual success of these two men, success which they generously accredit to the principle described in the next chapter, more than justifies this personal reference as a means of emphasizing the far-flung power of this principle. Almost 15 years ago, I delivered the commencement address at Salem College, Salem, West Virginia. I emphasized the principle described in the next chapter with so much intensity that one of the members of the graduating class definitely appropriated it and made it a part of his own philosophy. The young man is now a member of Congress and an important factor in the present administration. Just before this book went to the publisher, he wrote me a letter in which he so clearly stated his opinion of the principle outlined in the next chapter that I have chosen to publish his letter as an introduction to that chapter. It gives you an idea of the rewards to come. Mr. Napoleon, my service as a member of Congress having given me an insight into the problems of men and women, I am writing to offer a suggestion which might become helpful to thousands of worthy people. With apologies, I must state that the suggestion, if acted upon, will mean several years of labor and responsibility for you, but I am enheartened to make the suggestion because I know your great love for rendering useful service. In 1922, you delivered the commencement address at Salem College when I was a member of the graduating class. In that address, you planted in my mind an idea which has been responsible for the opportunity I now have to serve the people of my state.
So you never know who's going to plant that idea in your mind. You never know. That's why it's so important for you to attend as many as seminars, events on self-improvement and self-development. Because you never know what someone is going to say where it clicks, that gives you that idea. A light bulb goes on and go, that's exactly what I've been missing. Or, that's a fantastic idea. Let me build upon that. And this is what we're talking about here.
And will be responsible in a very large measure for whatever success I may have in the future. The suggestion I have in mind is that you put into the book the sum and substance of the address you delivered at Salem College, and in that way give the people of America an opportunity to profit by your many years of experience and association with the men who, by their greatness, have made America the richest nation on earth. I recall, as though it were yesterday, the marvelous description you gave of the method by which Henry Ford, with but little schooling, without a dollar, with no influential friends, rose to great heights. I made up my mind then, even before you had finished your speech, that I would make a place for myself, no matter how many difficulties I had to surmount. Thousands of young people will finish their schooling this year and within the next few years. Every one of them will be seeking just such a message of practical encouragement as the one I received from you. They will want to know where to turn, what to do, how to get life started. You can tell them because you have helped to solve the problems of so many people. If there's any possible way that you can afford to render such great service, may I offer the suggestion that you include with every book one of your personal analysis charts in order to the purchaser of the book may have the benefit of a complete self-inventory indicating, as you indicated to me years ago, exactly what is standing in the way of success. Such a great service as this, providing the readers of your book with a complete, unbiased picture of their faults and their virtues, would mean to them the difference between success and failure.
That's a big deal. The difference between failure and success.
The service would be priceless. Millions of people are now facing the problem of staging a comeback because of depression, and I speak from personal experience when I say I know these earnest people would welcome the opportunity to tell you their problems and to receive your suggestion for the solution. You know the problems of the people who face the necessity of beginning all over again. There are thousands of people in America today who would like to know how they can convert ideas into money. People who must start from scratch without finances and recoup their losses.
And that is more true today than it was back in the Great Depression. Population has gone up and more people want to learn how to become successful, and these principles don't change regardless of how long they've been around or who wrote them or how long it's been since they were written in a book. So that part is irrelevant. Time, I mean, it's amazing.
If anyone can help them, you can. If you publish the book, I would like to own the first copy that comes from the press, personally autographed by you. With best wishes, believe me, cordially, Jennings Randolph. Nice, guys. So that wraps up the introduction. I think we hit upon a couple really heavy things right there. If there was one thing that you guys want to recap for everyone, what would you say, Vahid?
Burning desire.
Yeah.
Positive mentality, positive thoughts, and thoughts could become things. Very, very powerful.
Wow, guys. So that wraps it for the introduction. Next time we're going to be hitting the big first principle, burning desire. So this is part of our Think and Grow Rich series. My name is Hana. This is Vahid, and we will see you next time. If you guys have any questions for us, make sure to follow us. Leave us comments below. We are Team Elite and TeamEliteZone.com.
And also our new Instagram account, Napoleon.hill. And we have Team Elite, obviously. If you guys have any suggestions in materials that we have not covered, we're going to do the whole book, so we're going to cover everything. But if there are areas that you want us to emphasize more, that you want a little bit more explanation or get our thoughts on it, definitely comment, get a hold of us, and then we'll be able to do it. Good job for reading that, Hannah. Definitely excited to do more. This completes our first portion. We're going to get into desire next. I'm excited for the desire.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. All right, guys. See you.
Take care.